I'm live. I put on lip gloss. That's how much I love y'all. I put on lip gloss. Also, I really want to share this meditation that I've started doing. It's called a love meditation, where I'm doing the silent retreat in March, which will be my first time, and I'm kind of freaked out, not gonna lie. So I'm trying to get really back to my consistent, like ideally hour long, but actually only 45-minute long meditation. And what I did today, I did like half an hour of a regular meditation, and then I did a 15-minute love meditation where I just imagined like everyone I know who's like ever said they love me and who I also just know loves me, just being like, I love you, Chimdi. We love you, Chimdi. But I imagine like all the angels and saints being like, we love you, Chimdi. We love you. And I imagine Jesus being like, I love you, Chimdi. And I was like, Jesus. Jesus was like, yeah. And then like every time I like felt like energy move in my body, like, sometimes you get little like twinges in your body and stuff. I would imagine that was like an angel being like, she felt it. She felt my love. And I was like, y'all, you're so nice. And I would just soak in all this love. And literally, I got emotional thinking about it. And I'm the kind of person where, and I always thought this was a good thing. And I do think there's some merit to not letting people's comments affect you too deeply. Because if you let the really positive ones affect you, the really negative ones are going to affect you too. And that's what I want to talk about in this video, is about the ways that can stop you from being a creative person in all areas of your life. So I've really tried, especially on here on YouTube, to like appreciate people when they say nice things about me, but not really let it sink in too deeply, because I wouldn't want to become this person who was just solely chasing after the affections and affirmations of strangers, right? But as a part of my this business coach program that I'm in, so freaking good, y'all. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. The best thing about being a creative coach is that I get to live a life that's aligned to my values, because getting support with your creative endeavors is the actual best. And to receive it, I'm just like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And one of the things that my coach advises me to do is to create a vision board that includes all of these love notes, all these really beautiful things that people have ever said about you. And I made one using a lot of y'all's YouTube comments. My heart, and it's literally like my desktop background. And after this call, we're going to chat for like half an hour. Also, say hi in the chat. I see I have 4 beautiful people just watching. Hi, beautiful people. Hi, sexy people. You looking good today, aren't you? Have you told yourself that? Or am I the first person who's told you that? Look in the mirror right now and be like, damn, I'm looking good. I was coming out the bathroom before getting on here. I was like, oh, girl. What a blessing, truly. I've lost my point. This always this always happens whenever I get enamored with my own image metaphor. That I just am like, what was I talking about again? What point was I making? Sly, hi. I recognize your face from Instagram. I believe you were the one who had that incredible violin solo. Like, how long have you been learning or practicing the violin? I've always wanted to learn, but I heard that the beginning part where you don't know shit is the hardest, because it sounds like it takes a while for you to sound good. And I think I'm like, ugh, I don't want to sound bad for that long. But I feel like it's worth it, because then the music you make is so incredible. Hi, Nicole. How are you doing? Happy Friday, girl. What you up to? I love your profile pic, by the way. I'm curious about what hairstyle you have in it. Do you remember? Do you still have that hairstyle? Hi, Monique. How you big girl? What you up to? What you up to? How are y'all feeling about January 2023? I feel like it's always, especially in the very beginning, it's always like 2023, new year, new me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then it only takes about 2 weeks before you're just like, okay, here we are in our life. We're just going to keep it pushing. So you have to be so intentional about like, okay, we're really gonna make this our year. But I want to talk in this live about creativity and hurting feelings, because I put out this YouTube short that's from a longer video I made about essentially realizing the ways I was unconsciously living in these poverty patterns and not even realizing it. And I referenced TJ Maxx, which I love and have bought maybe even this. No, I think I actually thrifted this sweater. I bought a bunch of things from TJ Maxx and I love it. But of course, people hadn't seen the video. They just saw this clips. They didn't realize it. So they were like, labels are dumb. And, rich people don't even spend money like that. Like it was like a lot of defensive energy. And I was like, y'all don't know my heart. What if I like reverse stalked people? Like instead of like you like subscribers stalking me, like I found subscribers and I found people who left comments and I was like, hey, it's me. You left a comment on my video like 2 weeks ago and I just like did some Google research and I found you. And I just wanted to like explain to you here at your job that you really just don't know my heart. And actually maybe like watch the full video before leaving comments that are super defensive, And if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But my whole thing is just like love and light and positivity. So if you don't get that, maybe get the fuck out of my face. Like, wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't that be weird? Also, I'm thinking, I chatted with the lovely Charlotte when I was in New York back in December. And we were having a beautiful conversation. And I made some references to some things, and I alluded to how there really is a certain version of me that I do not put on the internet, and there's a version of me that I do. But if you meet me in real life, you get the whole spectrum. And I did weep in that conversation because I am serious about weeping as often as I can. We got to melt the energy, y'all. And I think both the part of me that has a streak of violence, which means we don't want to promote violence, and then the part of me that's a real freak-a-leak. I don't talk about those parts on the internet. Those are only for my real friends. But as a creative coach, a big thing for me is showing up authentically and also consistently. So you're seeing me. I'm going to just start bringing it in. I'm going to bring it in as it feels right. Monique is feeling good about 2023. I love that for you. Andrea, hi girl, how you doing? Nicole's saying you're on the West Coast, so you never catch me live, but here you are. Thanks, you did it. What I love about being live is that literally anything can happen at any time, at any place. And when you watch it in the replay, whatever has happened has already happened. But while it's happening now, anything can still happen. Anything can still happen, Nicole, and you're a part of that. I also always wonder how much value this gives to the folks who watch it later because it is so much about what's happening right here in this moment. Andrea, girl, how is Las Vegas? Are you back on the other place? I don't want to give all your details. Are you back in the other place where you live now? How is that going for you? So yeah, about this YouTube short that I made that got people in their feelings. So what I realized was, well, a few things happened that I thought was super interesting. And literally as it was happening, I was like, content, content, content. The first thing was how visceral the fear was. I talk a lot about fear as a creative coach because that's the thing that stops us from creating is that we start working on something, we get excited, and then we're like, and we let that fear stop us, right? And so I talk a lot about that and I support my clients with that. But it's one thing to talk about it. And I, of course, in my own experience, have constantly been working through it and gotten over it and overcame it and let it go, all these things, right? But it's one thing to talk about fear from a place of being grounded and connected and feeling safe. And it's another thing when you are actually scared and when you're scared in a way that isn't about being in genuine danger. It's just an emotional fear. It's just this fear tied to stuff from the past that's like coming up, stuff that's been repressed that you didn't realize. And it's like, hey girl, you ready? Ready to feel me now? And I'm like, oh, hi. On a Thursday night? Okay, sure. I'll feel a little scared. All right. And it was interesting because it literally is just a bunch of random people leaving a comment, but then that creates this energy of like, oh no, people, they don't like me, they don't know me, they don't understand me, they're gonna like that thing around belonging, like I'm not gonna belong anymore. I haven't mentioned Thomas Hubel yet, and it's been 9 minutes. Thomas Hubel talks a lot about becoming and belonging and those being our core drives in life. And so it's really like, do we let ourselves be our full self and our full expression? And or do we let ourselves be loved and supported and be in community and get to be having, those close relationships? And sometimes we find that we have to sacrifice one for the other. And so in that experience, I felt my belonging being threatened and I felt how scary that was. And I was like, oh, it's not just something we talk about, something we think about. It's a visceral feeling in our body. And what a blessing I feel. I feel so grateful that I have the tools and I've had the support and I've had the practice to really feel it and let it go. Because I see the way that if you don't have that, you will get stuck and you will say, no, it's not worth it. It really is not worth it. And then the other thing I realized, hold on, I'm gonna hop in the chat for a hot second because I see Sly posted something. Oh, Andrea's on her way back from the airport. I love it. I love how much time you spend in the motherfucking airport, girl. How many times do you slash fly first class? And because of all the points that you have, presumably from all the flying, how often do you treat yourself with a little first class trip? I've never flown first class, but there's like a Steve Harvey clip where he's like, listen, all right, next time you want to take a trip, all right, pay a little extra money, buy a first class ticket. And then once you're there, you'll be like, this is nice. How do I get back here? And people were like, are you kidding me, Steve? Just casually upgrade to first class. But honestly, I heard what he was saying. He was like, get yourself a taste of living good. Because as soon as you know what it tastes like, you can't go back. And I'm so excited for that. God's waiting until I'm ready. But when I'm in, I'm not going back. It's like having access to lounges. I also read a whole article that was about how lounges are getting too crowded. And I was like, what kind of shit is this? Because now I can get in a lounge. Now they're too crowded. But I didn't take it personally. Sly is saying, thank you for the love. You're welcome, Sly. So you've been playing since you were 9 years old, which is actually late. What are they playing at 3? Like, wow. Literally the next day after posting, you were in front row watching Juilliard's violin competition. Oh, it's so cool. So cool. One thing I'll say, it's not been as challenging this time around, maybe because it's winter. But being in Maryland, one thing that was so hard for me last time was not feeling embedded in the community and not like going out and going to concerts and going to shows and going like just being in the world, you know? And I think I did get a lot of that in New York. And then, I was traveling in Mexico and I might be going back soon. Little hint for y'all. But it's just so beautiful. And that's the kind of stuff where it's like, you can just go to Juilliard and just sit there and watch all these incredible, talented people who are going to be the future of our culture, just play and just be in their majesty. Another Thomas People reference. I think this will be 2 of maybe 10 or 11. He talks about like the dedication to your craft. And he uses the metaphor of a professional musician and their dedication to no longer being like a person and the music, but actually in their dedication, they become one with the music. Like the music comes through them and it comes to their body and then it becomes something that we hear. And it's this like perfect straight line. And I was like, whoa, that's so freaking cool. So man, people who can play music are just the dopest. Monique is like, I want to spend time in an airport. That sounds nice. Not you dreaming of a long TSA line like one day, Lord, I'll be back. You will be back, Monique. You will be back. I see it for you. I believe in you. Okay, Andrea's on the Southwest A-list. So you're working your way up. We love it. All right, what was that point I was trying to make about? Oh, okay. So the first point was about the visceralness of fear. And the second point was about the relationship between like growth and expansion and visibility and feeling all your feelings and being in your shadows and like basically the extent to which you want to confront your own shadows, your ancestral shadows and your collective shadows mirror the impact and the growth and the power that you're going to have in the world. Because what I realized is that like I was watching a Jackie Aina video and she was talking about, she's at like 3+ million subscribers and has had a bunch of success and all these things. But she was talking about the ways she's been in the game for like 13 years or something. She was talking about the ways these comments that at first, like it's here or there, or these things that she sees in the industry, okay, it's here or there. But then when you see it year after year after year after year, comment after comment after comment, and then it slowly just starts to, it's like that death by 1,000 cuts thing. And it's such a particular perspective, as everyone's perspective is, right? Because only she has experienced that. So I can be at like year, I think I should get this actually, like, I should know for sure, but it's like 5, 6, 7. We're in the 5, 6, 7 era of my YouTube journey. And I just haven't experienced the same thing she's experienced. So I can only understand it intellectually, really. But this experience with the fear thing is helping me see, like, oh, it's visceral when you're actually on the other side of it. But the amount that she's been able to hold and withstand and confront in her own journey around showing up and talking about the topics she wants to talk about and confronting the realities of being a creator and people's comments and all these things, her ability to continue to withstand that is mirrored in her success. And when I think about like the really successful creators in our world, like the household names, the amount of vitriol, the amount of criticism, the amount of stuff that they've had to go through that match that level of success is quite large. And so it is a lot easier to stay small and not have to confront all these things that are showing up inside of ourselves, than it is to actually be like, okay, like if I want to have a greater impact, that means having to face some of these things. And the reason why I say it's about facing our own shadows is because at first, when I was seeing these comments come in, I was getting defensive. I was like, you don't know my heart. Something about that makes me laugh. You don't know my heart. I think something about yelling slash threatening someone with the phrase, you don't know my heart is tickles me. But that was how I was feeling. Was like, you're misinterpreting, you don't get it. And then I was like, hold on, girl. Pause, return to your body. And with presence, I was able to feel into what people were really communicating in their comments. And that's when I like saw it and heard it. And what came up again and again was people saying, I'm not poor. Please don't call me poor. I am working hard. I'm doing the best I can. Of course, I'd love to have lots of money and buy nice things. That's not where I am right now. And I don't want you to think that I am any less worthy as a human being and as a person because I can't buy all these fancy things, because I know I'm a good person and I'm trying my best. And I was like, oh, and I thought about the pain of wanting more, knowing you deserve more, reaching for more, and not seeing it in your life. And that's heartbreaking. And I thought about what my video really did for those folks was activate and press those wounds and those sore parts and sore spots in their own life and in their own body that makes them really uncomfortable. There's that phrase, hit dogs holler. And it's about how when you feel something is about you, you get activated and you get defensive. And if you are able to see, oh, that's their stuff, that has nothing to do with me. I know, that I can afford Chanel and I can afford, TJ Maxx, and I choose to just get what I want because I'm confident in who I am. If you understand that for yourself, you're not bothered. It's because you've got this part that maybe you don't even know about. And I think that's the thing about like reactions versus responses, is when you just start reacting, like you can't even, there's not even any control. You like see something, you like type, like you got to immediately get into it. That's because something that is very hidden and like needs to stay hidden right now for your development is being activated. And the immediate response is like defense, right? And there's a metaphor of like, I think it's a Thomas Hubel metaphor. We're at 3 out of 11. I don't think we'll get to 11, but let's see. He uses this metaphor about being triggered is the equivalent of walking in a dark room and touching an electric fence. Like it's very shocking. It's very terrible. And I forgot my train of thought. I'm going to hop into the chat. Monique's trying her best. Monique is not fantasizing about the long TSA line. She just wants to travel more this year. She wants to get her snacks at the airport. I feel you, girl. Yeah. So when it comes to just being activated in that way, it can be hard to realize. And that's what I realized for myself. It can be hard to realize we have these unconscious things, especially when we have no context to understand, oh, what's going on in me? And do I have the resources to actually breathe through this? And do I have people that I can talk to about this? And Like, is there a way out of this for me? Or am I just so, like, is my life so tight and so close that literally I'm just trying to get by? I'm just trying to survive. And everything that comes at me really does feel like an attack. And I made a recent YouTube video and I turned it into a short where I talked about introvertism and extrovertism and about feeling safe in your body and what a difference it makes when you don't see people as like inherently like the default is that a stranger is a threat. And I put that on my Instagram and someone responded, but strangers really are scary and threats. And you know how it is on social media. I think there's a like a levity and a lightness. But in that moment, I was like, just to be serious, like, I am really sorry about what happened in your life to make it such that that is how you see people. Because, like, for that to be your default, something went down, right? And I think that's something I'm continuing to feel into, and I feel really grateful for the timeless wisdom training I'm in, featuring Thomas Hubel. I think we're at number 4, maybe 5. Is I really used to think that most people were good. Like most people were happy, most people were healthy, most people were well functioning. And then a handful of people had had some things go down, you know, and then a much, 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 much smaller percentage, like 1% of people have had really bad things happen. And now I'm like, oh, it's the opposite. It's like most people have had really bad things happen that they are not talking about. And they are just like, hi. And you can see it in their face and you can see it in their eyes. And then you're just like, oh shit, I'm sorry. And they're just like, what do you mean? And you're like, nothing, nothing. We're all good here. And then a much smaller percentage of people are like, honestly, I'm great. Like, I'm healthy, I'm healed, I'm resourced, I'm connected, I'm loved. It's been really radical and it's something I thought I wanted. And I'm glad I can see it, but it was something that I thought I wanted was to be able to be so connected to my own body and my own resourcing that I'd be able to presence, like see and presence when other people are activated and are going through things and be able to connect to their nervous system and connect to spiritual Google and be able to tell what's going on in their life. But the reality, I'm like, oh, every cliche is true, y'all. Ignorance is bliss. True. That's a true ass cliche. Because when you really can presence any person, and especially when it's people that you love, who are just beautiful people, kind people, smart, creative people, like awesome ass people. And then you're able to presence that they've really been through something. And I'm just like, I don't have any kids, but it's that thing where you're like, you don't want anything bad to ever happen to your kid because they're perfect. They're this beautiful baby of love. And you don't want anything bad to ever happen. And I think Thomas Hubel, reference number 6. Um, are y'all keeping count? Because I don't know if I'm keeping count. Also, hi, India. Um, Thomas Hubel, he's awesome. And I do sense just a little bit of sadness in there, right? And I'm like, the number just in this 1 year of a 2-year program, that's maybe like their ninth time doing this program. That's one of 10, 15 programs that they run every year or whatever. And he's been doing this work for like 20, 30, 50 years or some shit. Like, that's just the stories I've heard in a year break my heart. So I can only imagine how much he is holding and how much he has had to hold. And when I think about aspiring to be like him and like some of the other really successful, impactful, purpose driven people that I admire, I feel like what God is saying is like, girl, you can be like them, but that means you're going to have to see some things and hear some things and know some things about yourself and about other people. You ready to do all that? And I'm like, yes. I can't just have like fun. I can't just like be twerking. I can't twerk my way through trauma healing. I really gotta presence collective trauma. Okay. All right. I can try. I can try, God. So yeah, just the reality. I truly have uh, the thinnest grasp of the stories of the Bible. But there's one I want to say featuring Moses. Let me know if y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who I'm talking about, Moses? I think it was him, it could have been someone else. But there's a story in the Bible that has to do with someone who ends up being a very big deal in the Bible. I want to say leading his people out of slavery. That sounds like Moses, right? But the whole idea was like, he gets just the next step in the plan. He doesn't get the full plan and everything that's going to happen and all he's going to go through. He just gets the like next thing. It's like, I now do this. And presumably that was probably very frustrating. But also, I can only imagine if God were to be like, all right, Chimdi, this is what we're going to go through. I would be like, fuck that. I'd be like, no. Ew. It's not worth it. Let me just take a nap and live in the woods. It's fine. It's fine. I made this video a couple years ago now where I am just actively cursing the healing process and getting better. And I'm like, it's not worth it, y'all. Stay in your trauma. It's cool. Stay in your trauma. And someone left a comment that they were like, I just go back and I watch that video sometimes when I'm really going through it. And obviously, at this point in my journey, I am very grateful and glad and blessed that I continue to heal. We love it, healing all day, etc. But yeah, but you really don't know what you're praying for, is what I'm saying. And just be grateful for where you are because you don't know what's coming. God can strike at any minute. So just stay ready, stay ready. All right, Sly is saying, is there a way, like an artist to date, to allow ourselves to buy the top expensive item or luxury experience in a systematic dose to expose ourselves regularly to our desires and future selves, like once a month, once a month? I know one thing, I haven't done this as like a YouTube creator, but I know something that other creators do is they'll go and they'll like rent out like fancy ass equipment and they'll experiment using that equipment. And there's a I think I have it, no, it's underneath my laptop, so I can't pull it out. But there's a manifestation technique that's about writing yourself checks for these like huge amounts of money and you like, future date it and stuff. And I was doing that earlier this month. And I was writing checks for like $50,000, $100,000. And at first, literally, like my body was activated. And I was like, like I wasn't shaking, but there was a level of like, this is a big number as I was writing it down. But then once I saw the number, something did switch where I was like, oh, this is just a number. Like, this isn't a big deal. Like, I can get this. I started Googling condos in Manhattan. And I was like, oh, it's only like 3.5 million. I thought it was like crazy. It's only a few $1 million. Okay, like I can get that. So there is something about that's something I don't think that's quite the reason why, because I know you've mentioned the artist's way, but that's something that Julia Cameron talks about is like taking yourself on these artist dates to do these new experiences. And I think that's a great way of testing out these like other lifestyles. There was a woman who actually Andrea put me on to. I listened to her podcast and she was talking about how she would go on these like future dates or something like that with one of her friends where they would like truly embody the person they wanted to be. So like they went out to like the restaurant and they were like in their best dressed fit and they only did activities that were like, what would the future me be doing right now? And they would only do that for like a weekend. And it was incredible. And I think it's so beautiful because we do think it's going to happen over there somewhere, but actually it's like, no, it's going to happen right here in our life in this moment. Terry says healing is addictive and masochistic. And that is facts, truth. You gotta love weeping. This is just my experience. Maybe there's a version of healing where you don't weep. There's gotta be a part of you that tastes your own salty tears and you're just like, yes. Yes. Hurts so good. Oh, trauma. You gotta love it, y'all. Anything in life, you gotta love it. I watched this Steve Jobs clip. Steve Jobs has his own backstory, but it was one of those motivational clips on Instagram. And he talked about how the people who are successful are just the ones who love it and don't quit. Because any normal person will stop because it's awful and hard. But if you love it, you keep going because you love it. And that's why you're successful. And it's the same thing. The same thing with healing trauma. It's the same thing with being a creator on YouTube. It's the same thing about any sort of thing that people have done in life. It's hard. Like, I think about bricklayers often because I think it's so incredible that I don't know if robots can lay brick. So whenever I see a wall of brick, I think about a person painstakingly putting every single brick there. I got emotional thinking about it recently. Oh, we're at 30 minutes. Okay, I actually have to go. I'll monitor the chat better next time. All right, I'm heading over to the Patreon. We're gonna do a Patreon vision board party. It was actually suggested by Victory, the creator. So I'm gonna hop over there. I'm gonna share the vision board that I made, and we're just gonna like hang out. So it's patreon.com/Chimby if you want to come through. I've been giving y'all super short notice on these lives. I feel like it's been like a Thursday to go live on Friday, so I think I'm gonna keep doing it like that. It's nice to keep it fresh, keep it funky. Hope you all have a beautiful ass, sexy ass weekends. If you're interested in creative coaching, know that January is the last month I'm doing $75 consults for 30 minutes. I realized, like, oh shoot, talk about undervaluing yourself. That's why it's good to have support, because you don't even realize how small you are until someone sees you in all of your large ass. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. So I'll see y'all later. Bye, 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 bye. Okay, I'm trying to find the end stream button. Okay. Bye.